Hello and welcome to Midweek Meditations, where we have an opportunity to briefly share with you what God has shared with us. I am so excited about this series that we're locked into. This series is entitled, This Is All of Us. And we've been talking about the family, and we've landed on part 5, looking at this very interesting topic called stress, something that every family is either going through, has been through, or will eventually go through. We determined that we have to be careful how much stress we take on. We have to be careful that we're not overly anxious. And so we looked at it through 3 parts. First thing we determined is that you and I need to learn who is the source of our peace. And I know some of you all are saying, well, God is the source of my peace. You have to be careful, because here's what Jesus said. Jesus said, my peace I give to you. But he says, I don't give it as the world gives. That's what we have to be careful about, that we're not choosing worldly means of gaining peace. And there are a whole array of things, and you can catch it in the message, a whole array of things that you and I have to be on the guard of. Then secondly, part 2, we determined that when you and I are overstressed, when we are overly anxious, that leads us to make costly decisions. Oh my goodness. We looked at Moses. When God said, Moses, I want you to speak to the rock. Moses struck the rock. Didn't strike it one time. He struck it 2 times. And then Moses called the children of God a bunch of rebels. Moses was overloaded, full of anxiety, stress. As a matter of fact, he was angry in his temperament towards the people of God. And so we notice that cost Moses the opportunity to go into the promised land. Y'all aren't hearing me. I want you to understand something, that Moses lost the opportunity to go into the promised land because he did a couple of things. Number 1, he was acting in the place of God. See, when you get overly stressed, when you're overly anxious, you make some bad decisions, and that's what Moses did. But then part 3, we determined that there is good news in the midst of stress. There's good news. How in the world can there be good news in the midst of stress? That means you don't have to carry it by yourself. You are not in it by yourself. God is with you. And we closed out with 2 Corinthians 4, verses 7 through 9, where Paul says, I was perplexed. Paul says I was persecuted. He says I was downtrodden. Paul says I was struck down. But then he says, but I still held on, but I still kept going, but I refused to let go. He said, this is what happened to me, but then he said, this is what didn't happen to me. And that's the best news. That's how you start handling the whole concept of stress and anxiety, by noticing that God can bring you through. And that's what I want to leave you with right now. I want to remind you from the depths of my heart that God can bring you through. There was this writer who was doing a lecture. He was talking about stress. And he held in his hand a bottle of water, one simple bottle of water. And so he asked those that were listening to him, how much does this bottle of water weigh? And they were guessing, just making all kind of wild guess. And he said, you know what? It really doesn't matter how much this bottle weighs. He says, the difference is made in how long I try to hold this bottle up. He said, if I hold it up for an hour, it won't bother me. He said, as a matter of fact, if I hold it up for several hours, it'll start weighing my arm down and causing me some discomfort. He says, but if I tried to hold this simple bottle in my hand for more than 24 hours, it's going to cause major problems. And here's what the lesson he was trying to get across. He says, it's not how heavy the burden is, it's how long you hold the burden. I want to challenge you. Give God a chance to carry your burdens for you. I'm praying that God will bless you and keep you and give you as stress-free of the rest of the week as possible. Till we meet again, may God bless and keep you.